Welcome to episode 7 of the Next Question podcast here at the Maxwell Studios. We're proudly sponsored by DeVoe Cadillac, the Collier Autism School, Maga Beer, and Z Enterprises. And we have a very special guest here for episode 7. Extremely excited today. Who do we have on with us, Patrick?
Well, Pat, thanks, man. Let me tell you, a quick shout out to Lauren Maxwell and the Maxwell Home Mortgage team. We're here in the podcast studio. It's crazy. People are coming by here looking to rent this out, sublease this out.
Sound like
anybody's interested in that, please contact Pat Jira. So standing next to me with these big, huge arms is a guy that's about to help save America. My longtime friend, my fellow patriot, my fellow MAGA warrior, and I believe, factual statement, the youngest American ever elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. They tried to freaking take you out. The left side, the swamp, you're still standing strong, and we're blessed to have you in Southwest Florida, and I'm blessed to call you my dear friend, man. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Oh,
how we doing?
Pat, you know, it's great to be on. Yes, I got Patrick Dearborn, I got Pat Jira right here. We're on the Next Question podcast, and it's an honor to be here because, you know, this is really harkening back to my very first time in Naples, Florida. It was early 2021. It was the height of COVID. There was lunacy going on everywhere. And Byron Donald says, hey, will you go down and speak at an event in my district? And anyways, I was like, oh, anything for you, Byron, I'd be happy to. And then he says, well, you know, I'm asking the questions about it. He says it's at a grocery store. And, you know, not being arrogant here, but I said, Byron, I don't want to fly 4 hours to go from D.C. to go speak at a grocery store. You know, that's not what I want to do. And he said, I promise this is the greatest grocery store we've ever been to. I then go to seat to table and with none other than Pat Jira. He's there emceeing the event. And Pat Dearborn.
Or Pat Dearborn.
Patrick Dearborn.
I was probably there.
I'm there with
Pat Jira was there. Pat Jira came to all the shows.
Dearborn. He's a fire commissioner in the area, and we've just become friends for ever since then. And, you know, I jumped on a jet ski that weekend, and I didn't feel paralyzed at all. I said, I am moving
That's awesome.
to this city. And then I came down here. We went through Hurricane Ian, and that's when I fell in love with the people of this area.
I love the fact you're in Cape Coral, man. I'm going to tell you, I'm gravitating more and more. You got Conservative Ant there, the official Patriot gear store. I'm up there all the time. Tito Ortiz, his wife Amber, Tito's Cantina. I've done like 3 real estate deals this year in Cape Coral alone. So Freedomtown, USA, since you moved there for sure, and Ant came down and Tito moved there, I definitely include Cape Coral and District 19. You were definitely embedded in Freedomtown, USA. I loved our movement. I can remember that day like it was yesterday. Pat, you were there. We had Byron Donalds, almost vice president, soon to be next governor of Florida, a patriot warrior conservative. We had Kevin Sorbo, actor, Sam Sorbo, his wife. We had Alex Brucewitz. We had, of course, Brendan Leslie, the host. We had Alfie Oates. We had Madison Cawthorn. We had, and there's even a few, we had DC Drano.
Drano was in the house. Yeah, great.
Night. We did some amazing shows.
Yeah.
Ted Nugent. I mean, we had some amazing shows, but that night goes down in history. And that was the first time I met you. You came down here a lot and did some fundraisers and did things. You've been locking arms with Byron Donalds for a long time. I know Byron has not officially endorsed anybody, but I know for a fact, guys like Donald J. Trump, Byron Donalds, they love you. They respect you. You talk to them all the time. I know they're rooting for you. So tell me how we're going to win District 19 and keep Southwest Florida and America great.
Well, listen, so many people know that Southwest Florida, the west coast of Florida, and specifically, is really the backbone of the conservative movement inside of Washington, D.C. I mean, you had Matt Gaetz up on the northern side. Now he's out of office. Then you have got Anna Paulina, who's a fantastic warrior.
Love Anna.
Yeah, you've got Greg Stubbe, who's a good warrior, really big on fiscal conservatism. Then you have Byron Donalds, and we have some other patriots who come through this area. But this is the area where the backbone of the movement comes from. If something needs to be said, if something needs to be exposed, and the establishment is too afraid to do it, the west coast of Florida is going to take care of it. And they're going to get the job done.
You forgot guys by the name of like Marco Rubio and Senator Rick Scott.
That's exactly
Both those guys were not only governors and great senators. Marco Rubio, man, right now in my book might be leading candidate for 2028 and 2032. And I love JD. I love our roster, dude. We got some great guys. I want to know, you talked about the jet ski ride. Was that the deciding factor? What made you want to move down from North Carolina to Freedomtown, USA? All bullshitting aside, what really did it for you? Was it the jet ski ride?
The jet ski ride, why this is not being facetious here, it actually did mean a lot to me because down here in Florida, everything's flat. It's really easy to be in a wheelchair down here. Obviously, anybody who's familiar with spinal cord injuries, you get neuropathy, but, high humidity and high heat help that a lot. But then being out on the water, everything's hand controls. I don't have to edit anything. I don't have to manufacture anything. If I'm on my boat, I got my hand controls right here. I got the joystick on it. If I'm on a jet ski, I've got, finger triggers up that can just move the thing around. And so that was a reason that I really wanted to move to the area because I love being on the water and really being on the water. Anybody who's watching this as a boater, this is really the last place in the modern world where honor still exists. If you have a problem on a boat and you're here in the Gulf of America, somebody's going to come by and help you. People give the right of way. People, use intelligence when they're out there. There's a lot of critical thinking. And also, there are obviously channels that you can go through, but when you're on the water, you can go wherever you want. It's a beautiful picture of America because the sea is, it's beautiful, but it also holds a lot of power. You have to respect it and you have to be willing to understand how it works. And that's like our country. We have so many people that are running for office all around the country right now who are in Washington this day that don't respect this country. They don't respect the fact that every 2 years we get to have a bloodless revolution. We have had patriots fight and die for this right. And if you elect patriots across the board, if you just say, I'm done with the people who've got pleated pants and tasseled loafers who are selling our country down the river for the highest bidder, and we start electing real patriots who are going to go up to Washington, D.C. and fight, we get a supermajority in the House, you can change this country overnight. That's how important your vote is. And that's the reason we're going to win. We have a volunteer base that really recognizes that. We're out knocking doors. We have amazing momentum. We've got great endorsements. Mark Wayne Mullen endorses us. He's now running DHS, doing an amazing job.
Badass.
He really is. And we've had a lot of movement in the campaign. We've raised over $500,000 in our very first quarter. But really, the thing that means the most to me, we just had an event in Boca Grande, a new part of our district, with over 4,000 people in attendance.
That's awesome. I saw that on social media.
Every event we have always has over 100 people. We had the amazing Nick Shirley down here wanting to expose fraud.
That was a great event.
You were at that event, hosted by our dear friend Jeeve. It was amazing. Elise and Johnny Frotto helped run that event. And
baby.
It's just all of these things are just little flashpoints in the pan, but we have amazing momentum. I mean, we can't go down the street, whether we're on Fifth Avenue in Naples, whether we're in Mercado, whether we're up in Cape Coral, just going down the Parkway. Someone's going to be driving by. Hey, Cawthorn 2026, we got your back. And the reason is because they know this is a no BS campaign. We're not going to Washington, D.C. to enrich ourselves. I've got money. I've had power. People know my name. You can't sell me on any of that. They tried to offer me those things in Washington, D.C., and I said, screw you. I'm here for the American people. And that's why they attacked me. And now I'm going back with a vengeance because the one thing I told the leadership is I'm going to outlive you. I am part of a movement of conservatives that is going to outbreed. We are going to outbreed the left. We are going to outlive the establishment, and we are going to save this country. Thank God for Donald Trump right now, who is really holding the line. But my friends, we are moving this country forward because of guys like you. The mainstream media is not the stronghold it used to be. Podcasts like this are the reason we can get the message out. But, gentlemen, this is your show. What's the name of the show?
Next question.
So let's jump to it.
Let's do it. When you get elected back into Congress, what would you do differently that you didn't do the first time around?
So when I got into Congress, obviously I was in the minority and we didn't have the presidency. And so
they're also very young.
Very young. I was 24 years old. 24 years old. And, I was the first person to be elected to Congress, even to this day, that was born in the 1990s. So I'm the first person that grew up with a cell phone in my hand. And I tell anybody who's got questions like, well, I saw a video of you in a fist fight when you were 18. I saw a video of you doing, being, drinking with your boys when you were 20 years old on a cruise ship, whatever. I always want to remind these people that if any of the people in Washington, D.C. grew up with a cell phone in their hand, they would either be in jail or they would never be near a microphone in their life. And that's something that I want. But also, they were able to attack me on this stuff because for most people, if they say bring up something from their past when they were in high school or college, they say, oh, that's 30 years ago. But for me, it was just 4 years ago.
A couple years ago. Yeah. I mean, myself and Pat Dearborn, it took me a little bit longer to figure things out. So
for the record, Pat Dearborn's got more skeletons in his closet than most people in America. Next question.
Yeah. But, really talking about what I would do differently is when I first got to Congress, we were able to pass 3 bills while in the minority, which was unheard of, especially being a firebrand. We passed more than, Matt Gaetz, senior members of the House that were in
Talk
the
about
time.
this. What'd y'all pass? Like, give me some highlights.
Yeah, so our biggest thing, we were on VA. This was very important for me to be on this committee, but we passed everything for veterans. So one, we wanted to expand, the VA benefits to where you'd be able to go outside of the system to be able to go and use the system. Because let's say the VA just wants to treat you like a number. But if you want to be able to go outside of that system, you should be able to go find the doctor that can treat you for what you have.
1,000%.
And my biggest problem is if we can afford to send our bravest, strongest, most badass young women and young men over to war, then we have to be able to afford to take care of them when they come home. Another thing that we did, which is really kind of a strategy piece, oftentimes whenever people go to the military, they have to use the tax domicile of the member that is actually serving in the military.
Correct.
So we changed the law to where if you marry somebody who comes from a better state with no taxes, then you can choose to use their tax domicile. Now, this one gives a bunch of relief to our members in the military and our young families. But the biggest reason that we were wanting to do this is because what states have no taxes? It's red states, baby. We're wanting our young men and young women in uniform to marry great conservatives from these great red states who have no taxes and respect the individual and say, hey, we didn't have any part in making that money. We're not going to take it from you because that's called slavery. And so those are some bills that we passed. We also passed some things. And this, again, I hate omnibus bills. I try to change those. I think we got to get the single subject spending bills. But during the omnibus packages, we brought so much money to our district when it comes to water quality and making sure that, people have access to the environmental needs that they have, because of so many people, unfortunately, because our water is so poisoned, whether it's because they're putting stuff in there that's turning the freaking frogs gay or they're trying to ruin your testosterone. We were trying to attack that. So those are the 3 things that we tackled there. But again, we are in the minority. So when I go into office now, I have so many friends that I've helped get elected over time. We're going to have a great coalition. I've got several friends that I've helped get elected who are now on the appropriations committee. So we'll be able to bring ridiculous amounts of money back to this district to be able to help us. Because remember, people often are like, well, why are you bringing money from the federal government? Because it's your tax dollars. I don't want the federal government to be sending this money over $10 million a year to Mozambique for circumcisions. I'm not kidding. Look it up. I want that money to come right back here. Let's clean, let's go to Lake Okeechobee. Let's figure out why our water quality in Lee County is so bad. Why we have this terrible red tide that's coming in. And, we've got to get back. This is the biggest one. And during the Farm Bill, I want to incentivize U.S. Sugar and other manufacturers in the area because I want these big manufacturers here. But I want them to get back to regenerative farming, where we actually are using this amazing gift that God gave us with this amazing soil. South of Lake Okeechobee, we can grow 365 days a year. So we need to start rethinking about how we're going after agriculture, because right now we're just putting poison into the ground that then runs off into our rivers, that then poisons, it's destroying the Everglades. It's making our water look terrible here in the Gulf of America. And so these are the things that we're going to want to tackle.
That's awesome, man. So I have a question for you. So go back in a time machine. You got elected when Trump got in 2016. You're up there in D.C. Byron told me stories because everything was it was a different world up there. And you guys were definitely the minority. How different is D.C. now that we have a slight majority, razor thin in the House and Senate, and we have Donald J. Trump as our president? How different is that D.C. culture now?
So I'll tell you, obviously my 3rd day on the job, Byron's 3rd day on the job also was January 6th. And so, I spoke at the Eclipse, then I rolled all the way back up to the Capitol. Then I was debating on Wisconsin. I posted a video that really exposed why I was, going to contest the election. I was the first elected member of Congress to say, I'm going to contest this election.
I remember that.
Really kicked off all of this stuff. We had a lot of people sign on. Then
this is 2020, not 2016.
2012. Yeah. But then, I lobbied of my friend, Senator Josh Hawley. He actually came over. So now having me as the member of Congress and Josh Hawley, I think he was the youngest member of the Senate at the time. I was the youngest member of Congress. We're this new generation, this new guard coming in. We both contested this election. And that's what really kicked off all the events that happened. Then I go and speak. I introduce the president on January 6th. He comes up and speaks, and he has a beautiful speech. Never incited any form of violence.
Yep. Giuliani, yeah, man.
Absolutely. And so anyways, we're there speaking, but the culture was, because obviously we failed and Biden was in office, that brings in about 30,000 extremely liberal political appointees into the executive branch. And so that just changes the culture right there, because you have 30,000 patriots who no longer have jobs. So they are now moving out into other areas. And then also because of what happened, you got COVID roaring at the time. Everyone's wanting to wear masks, all this social distancing BS, which we all know is so ridiculous, the pandemic. But then you have all of these fences everywhere, everything's so guarded and so odd. And it just didn't strike me as
cold.
It was
dark.
cold and dark. Yeah. But then, obviously I got to be in the rotunda. There was probably about 300 to 400 of us, but I got to be in the rotunda for Trump's inauguration in 2024, 2025.
A little cold out that day.
It was cold out that day, but fortunately,
I was outside.
Well, hey, you know what? You should have told me. I would.
Byron Donalds couldn't get me in.
Hey, well,
Madison Cawthorn could have got me in. Damn, you have my vote right now.
We could have made it work.
That's awesome, man.
So anyway, we're there. I was sitting with some amazing people. You had Tucker Carlson beside me. Joe Rogan was just a few rows ahead of me. Literally, from that moment that Donald Trump, swore the oath, the entire culture in Washington, D.C. changed. It was sleeting and pouring, just freezing rain. It was awful. But then you go to these amazing, rejoiceful, inaugural balls that are going on.
I'm out with you. Sunshine ball.
Exactly.
Rick Scott.
It was incredible. And then, we were also there with Lauren Maxwell. She was incredible. We were there with Dan Cowall, all the great Patriots. And we love Dan Cowall. We were missing, his grandkids call him Big Daddy, but we were missing Chris and Dot Hall. I wish we had them. Yeah.
How blessed are we in Cuyahoga County to have 4 or 5 unbelievable common sense. Talk about Dan Cowall, his law enforcement background, military background. Chris Hall, guys are a true follower of Christ, just a devout Christian and just straight laced and common sense. You got Colonel Rick LaCastro, you got Bill McDaniel, and Bert Saunders has come around. Even though I call Bert Saunders the biggest ninny in the world when I went down there and protested against closing beaches and closing businesses and following the arrows of Publix. Me, Byron, Alfie, we went down there and said, F that, we're not doing it. They can have my freedom when they pry from my dead cold hands.
And that's when this man turned this town into Freedom Town, USA.
Not me, but all of us.
Coined it.
And it's not about who was right, who was wrong. They were definitely wrong. I want to get back to they, because they are out there. They are controlling stuff. When I watch the news, and I have people that come up to me all the time, how are you supporting Madison? How are you supporting Byron? How are you supporting Trump when they haven't done anything about the Epstein files? And they take money from a PAC or what PAC or this PAC. So I know my answer. I want you to talk to the few critics out there, the ainers and the haters, that don't want to see us be great again, that are rooting against America. They're rooting against you. I don't need somebody else. I was talking offline with your fiance, who's amazing, by the way.
Prettiest girl in the world.
And we're talking about, her mom's pretty awesome too. We were talking about why you're the guy. And I told her, flashback in a time machine, Byron Donalds asked me to help and support his campaign. I've been through with him before. We lost a couple times. I said, I'm all in. A week later, one of my best friends in the whole world, Lauren Maxwell and Dan Cowall, called me because he was getting in the race. And I said, guys, it was a tough conversation. I said, Lauren, Dan, I love you so much. I've already given my word to Byron Donalds. Rocky Patel and other people called me to support Casey Askar, who, by the way, just got into
22. Yep. Yes,
going to throw big money behind that. So my point was, you have to make tough decisions. That's what life is, man. And to me, I'm not some gray area. Either I'm with you or I'm not with you. And if I'm not with you, I wish you all the best. And hey, but if you want to make me an adversary or force me to make a decision, so I've been called out several times. Why? Not only do I endorse you and stand with you from day one, but why am I so adamant about it? Once I give my word, if a man doesn't have his word, he's got nothing. And you taught me a long time ago, and I loved you on our podcast shows. Our live shows, the tape be so packed. You would get the crowd so fired up. You were literally one of our fan favorites all the time. I mean that. Brendan Leslie says it all the time too. And by the way, Brendan Leslie, if you're paying attention, I love you, man. He got a little fired up when he made a post talking about who was in the race and who wasn't. He failed to mention his friend and my friend, Madison Cawthorn. So the comments started flooding in and overwhelmed by Brendan Leslie. I love Brendan Leslie. By the way, dude, let's get a show back here and see the table. What are you waiting on? Florida's Voice, Drew Steele. I want Madison Cawthorn on there. I want Byron Donalds on there. Maybe we'll have Gary Brecko on there. Let's get that going. Make a note. So my point is, we've been through all this stuff. Now it's 2026. We're rolling into, I think, will be the craziest, most contentious election cycle, not just here in Freedom Town, USA, but around the country. We lose the House. We lose the Senate. How big of a shit show are we looking at Trump's last 2 years in office?
We are looking at impeachments. We are looking at them trying to stop because obviously Trump can make decisions, but Congress holds the purse strings. They will then be taking away the funding for any of the agenda items that Donald Trump has. And this is one thing. And I want to say I don't take any PAC money from anybody. I'm funded by just local people.
Say that one more time to the ainers and the haters.
I don't take any PAC money. Listen, I am beholden to the American people and nobody else. I had.
Next question.
Next question. And so I will tell you, a lot of people, this is where I think that some of the American people need to understand that things in Washington, D.C. were created by the founders to happen slowly. And so in my mind, we give the president of the United States a 4-year leash. It's what the founders intended. I'm not saying we're putting a leash on the president. No one twist my words there. But as the American people, when we give our vote, when we give our electoral college votes and we select the president, we give them a 4-year leash. We're saying, hey, I'm willing to watch your strategy play out for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And so for anybody to prematurely judge Donald Trump right now, because you start looking at what's going on, like, well, why are we involved in Iran? Why are we doing this? Look at what's happened the entire time. Very first thing he started doing foreign affairs-wise, Marco Rubio was doing great.
Rubio's doing amazing.
He took out the Russian shadow tanker fleet, which was moving, oil around the world.
And other things around the world.
Exactly. And then we took down Venezuela, which was sending a ridiculous amount of oil at a cheap, massive discount to the Chinese.
Shout out to our Spec Op guys out there, man. They're the baddest dudes on planet Earth, and God bless all of our Spec Op guys and women in the military that do a great job.
If I can brag for a second on my cousin, he was driving one of the Arleigh Burkes. He was behind the helm, driving one of the Arleigh Burkes, sailing it right up there. They were the ones that launched the missiles right before the Spec Ops went in. It was incredible. His commanding officer allowed him to give the order because it was his first time.
That's awesome.
And so, he gave the order to fire. They put the birds in the air. They took down all of the air defenses. Our Spec Op guys go in there. They took care. Remember, we voted for no forever wars, right? 6 minutes and 24 seconds. It's not a forever war. That's what I'm talking about. That's having hegemony.
Right to end too.
Well, exactly. So, we take down Venezuela, which was sending oil to our adversaries. Now we take down the Strait of Hormuz, which was sending oil to our adversaries. Obviously we're moving in. We just have a new defense pact with Indonesia, which they are also in control of one of the most important straits in the entire world. We also, because we are friends with the EU and Egypt, we have nuclear submarines all around the Suez Canal. Donald Trump, and now that we have a defense pact with Greenland, that's also a massive trade route.
51st state.
Donald Trump is now, and listen, it's going to take some time to play out, because we are now controlling all of the trade routes. We don't have to be the police of the world. We don't have to send our boys and girls to go get maimed and killed to try and to force somebody into submission. If we can stop all of the naval traffic going around the world, we have everyone in a vice grip. Remember, after World War II, we had all the manufacturing power. We had a ridiculously sized large fleet. We were the only country with nukes. We could have conquered the world. Instead, we went out and rebuilt the world. And do people like us for it? No. We were trying to be benevolent, and people actually hate us all around the world. They want to take us off the top spot. And so what Donald Trump is doing—
not the real people, leadership of the one world and all the people. But I think people in general, the Iranian people,
they're cheering, they're celebrating.
Yeah.
And but now we are in a position where we are going to be the leader of the world and say, hey, if we don't want you to do something, we control all the trade. If you want to be able to get raw materials, we will stop it from getting to you. Your manufacturing will stop. Your energy production will stop. We are the United States of America. We run the world. It's not, listen, a lot of people want to be isolationists. I am a massive nationalist. I believe in my country. I want to fight for my country. I want it to be the best in the world. And I'm tired of the Internal Revenue Service. It's time, because we secure the seaways, because we have Pax Americana. We control the world order that's going on right now. I want the ERS, the External Revenue Service. Let's start. If the world wants to use the sea that we secure and make sure piracy doesn't happen and make sure you can trade things, it's no longer time for them to say, oh, we're going to take America for suckers. It's time for them to start paying us. The American people need to get oil at a discount. The American people need to get precious metals at a discount. It's time that we rip the production away from the Chinese, which is sharpening the sword that will one day fight us. And we bring that production back here into the United States. And the way that we do that is we unleash nuclear energy. We drop our energy costs significantly. We open up manufacturing here in the area, so people aren't just doing a services-based work. We are a country that produces things. We will be the experts at all things. And that is our plan for the United States of America.
Next question. Now you know why. And no disrespect to anybody else and all of the candidates. I guarantee you, and I like John Strand. He knows I'm friends with John.
Love John.
Strand.
We had
John Strand,
dinner with him last night.
Wrongfully imprisoned J6. Man, I love that guy. He knows where I stand with you. I like both you guys. I'm supporting your campaign. But no matter what, any other candidate here, because you have the experience, because you know what you're talking about, man. You're not going to step in there for the first 2 years with your eyes wide open, deers in the headlights, worrying about what's going on. Yeah. You're going to hit the ground running. That's what we need. We don't have time. We got to get somebody in there that has the experience, that knows and ain't scared to ruffle feathers. And that's Madison Cawthorn, period. And that's why I wanted you on this show, man, because you keep it real. And I'm looking at watching Pat's face because I already know where Pat stands. I'm not trying to put him on the spot where he stands in District 19. But I know he and I align on stuff.
Obvious, yeah. I mean, I don't hide it, you know.
You're Madison Cawthorn?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Pat, man,
Yeah, I mean, you know
I'm
that.
excited,
Let's
baby.
go.
I'm excited about that.
He wore his nice new sport coat for you, too, man.
Listen,
He
yeah.
tucked his shirt in. First time since 1987. He normally
And
doesn't
listen,
hang out.
you were out there with our
He's
team
getting serious.
yesterday. We were door knocking, and you know that's what we're doing.
Wow.
We're actually earning the vote. We're not someone who's just going to spend big money. We're not someone who's going to be, oh, well, we have big consultants and yes, the yada yada yada. I care about the support of the people. I'm not here. I'm not someone who wants to have all the, you know, when we do fundraisings, we have our fundraisers, but I'm not someone who wants to have these, you know, white tablecloth, nice wine dinners. I want the people around us fired up, realizing, hey, you know, the revolution for the United States of America was started inside of a bunch of church halls when they went downstairs. They were having potluck dinners at the
Less than 2% of America stood up for that stuff.
And then where it happened was in the bars, and it was on the shooting ranges with the American normal working class who said, I am done paying taxes to a tyrannical government. I am done with the royalty. I want to be the royalty in this country. We are going to rise up. The Black Cloak Regiment, our patriot pastors, they ripped off their black coats on one given Sunday. They were wearing that colonial military blue. They said, it's time for us to fight for a God-given land. Let's go out and let's win this. It's time for Christians. Wow. It's time for normal Americans. I don't care if you got tattoos. I don't care if you dip. I don't care if you cuss every once in a while. I'm looking for people who are the same man on Sunday as they are on Monday, who are willing to stand up and say, screw you. You are not getting my children. You are not getting my freedom. I will fight you in the trenches. I will fight you in the public square. And if it comes to it, I will fight and die for my rights in this country. That is what this country is about. That is who is running this campaign. That's what we're going to do.
You can drop the mic. By the way, you know,
listen, you know, he's a Gary Brecka guy, so he's wanting to show off that his arms are a little bit more toned than me.
Next to Pat Jira and Ricky Hodge. Next to you. So look, thank you for getting me fired up. Now, let me bring it down a little bit because you know I love Southwest Florida. District 19 is the heart and soul of Cape Coral. Tell me about, and I'm just telling you, I told you up front, I'm really starting to gravitate towards a lot of people in the Cape. They're different. I love Naples. I love Freedom Town. I love Bonita and Fort Myers. Tell me, in your words, what's different about the people and the citizens in Cape Coral, which is the majority of District 19?
It really is. And so I'll tell you, you know, if you look at the southern end of Cape Coral, that is a lot of where your first generation millionaires are going to be. You know, people who grew up in a normal middle class household, you know, they became successful in whatever business they did. And then, you know, they moved and they had this home that, you know, their parents would have dreamed of. They thought it was amazing. And so you're around a bunch of normal people who've been successful in life. And so, you know, they're pretty cultured. They've done some amazing things. They've got nice cars. They've got nice homes, but they're still cutting their own grass. They're still working on their own AC. They still know how to get the job done. You know, it's just a bunch of normal, hardworking Americans. Then you go a little bit further north. That's when you're going to start getting to kind of your young families, people who are working every single day. That's the reason why I think that we've got to expand the bridges going out of Cape Coral, because it's a working class community. If you are on the road at 5 o'clock or at 8 a.m. when you're trying to get to work, everyone's going out there to get to work. And so this is something that I think that, you know, our representative can actually do, is bring federal funds back down here so that we can expand our ability to have infrastructure. And then also we have got to find ways to encourage the city councils, why I'm very active in the city council race in Cape Coral, to start, because listen, only 7% of Cape Coral is actually commercial real estate. It's all just for developers to build houses. But unfortunately, that doesn't support a community. People can't have jobs in the Cape. And so that's a really big thing that I want to tackle, is I want to create opportunity zones where people have low regulations, low taxes, and we can create manufacturing jobs inside of the Cape. You know, we have one of the biggest boat dealers, one of the best boat dealers in Cape Coral, Nortec, and this was some of the greatest citral consoles ever made. Yeah. But we can have that kind of manufacturing in Cape Coral. We can have those kind of businesses where people can come in. You know, I'm involved with the guys at the Incredible Bank with just new businesses opening up. And so we've got to expand our ability to have commercial real estate, because listen, I don't want to rent my property from the government. Do you, Patrick?
No.
Do you, Pat?
Absolutely.
So I'm all for getting rid of property taxes because, they were created.
God bless Ron DeSantis and soon-to-be Governor Byron Donalds because they
exactly
have a
right.
plan.
They do.
And as long as it financially works out and we don't ever miss a beat supporting our first responders and our schools, which they have a plan for, I'm 100% in.
And that's why, I'm saying that we've got to increase our ability to start businesses and diversify our economy down here in Southwest Florida, because then you can tax those businesses who are happy to do it because you're giving them the land to work on. And so then you can afford to, pay for your infrastructure needs. You can afford to pay for our boys in blue who are the best in the world here in Southwest Florida. And you can afford, your guys, all about them. The firefighters here in Southwest Florida, here in Collier County, they've got to go out and fight wildfires in the eastern part of the county. We have people that are, we have boat fires that happen in our canals. This is the people in Southwest Florida.
All the time.
You have high-rise buildings. This is in Southwest Florida. I think there's some of the most diversified and talented firefighters we have anywhere in the world.
Amen. I love, by the way, I got to give you a shout out because you always come to me all the time, and I've got you talking with my chief. You stop off every time you're in town. I know you got to cover the whole area of District 19. You always make time to stop off, get a workout in, stop in and really support and shake the hands of our first responders, our law enforcement, and our firefighters and our EMS. So kudos for you for doing that. There's never cameras around. You do it because it's the right thing to do. I'm telling you, man, I'm so fired up when you hear him talk, the way he rattles off stuff, whether it's foreign policy or statewide stuff in District 19 and Southwest Florida or for America. This dude's on point.
And passionate.
Passionate because this is what God put him on the earth to do, man, period. So I'm just sitting next to you right now. It's just giving me, I'm just invigorated, man, and fired up to stand next to you. And I cannot wait to be there on Victory Day. God has a plan. And in my heart, I know that plan includes Byron Donalds and Erica being the governor and first lady of Florida.
Erica, listen.
Erica's coming on next week.
Oh, she's the greatest. I love Erica Donalds with all my heart. She's amazing.
Pat Jira yesterday on the air said, he already called it. He beat me to it
for a while.
He already predicted Byron Donalds governor, followed by, after he terms out or becomes the president of the United States or vice president, Erica Donalds.
Listen, if she was in this primary against Byron, I don't know who I'd be voting for. I might be going for Erica Donalds, to be honest with you.
Said this to Byron's face. We love you, but we really love Erica.
Now, listen, I've smoked a lot of cigars with Byron in Washington, D.C. After late night votes, we'd go into the Cannon building. There's this little balcony that we convinced some of the housing guys to give us the keys to. So we'd go out there and smoke and have this amazing time. And to hear the things that his wife is involved in, whether it's education, really taking care of stuff.
The boss, man.
She's amazing. And, it's just, this is really why I'm so passionate about District 19, because, Byron is so baked into the community here. He knows the actual needs of what needs to really get done. And so that's what I want. I don't want people who have just moved here, last year, a few months ago, whatever, or people who are just now getting involved in politics because their careers are ending and they're saying, well, this would be a good capstone for my career. And I feel really cool to be called the honorable. That's not what we need right now. Southwest Florida deserves a patriot who will fight for them.
I want a race car driver behind the car. I don't want somebody that's going to go the speed limit or 5 miles below the speed limit and stay within the lines, because I'm telling you right now, this is a race we have to win. And if we don't win this race, I'm just telling you right now, I was there front and center. I didn't know your campaign back then. I was front and center with Byron Donalds, and I was there the night on election night, and we were there, and he was sweating it. That text message came out. The mysterious text message.
Day of or day before?
No. The day of.
Day of. They said Byron Donalds dropped out of the race.
This is Byron and Erica. We're so sorry. We're dropping out of the race. So he won by 740 or 737 votes. And Pat was there. I was there. And I said to him the whole time, dude, you're going to win. I felt it in my heart. God is telling me you're going to win this race. Now, we don't coast. You're not sitting back. We got to play like we're down by 14 points. You got some pretty tough adversaries with a bunch of money in this race. And how ugly is it going to get locally and nationally between now and August and between now and November?
So, this is one thing. Local politics are oftentimes more ugly than national politics. Because in Washington, D.C., you're part of an organization, whichever party you're in. And to really kind of start beefing with a congressman, you almost need to get the blessing of leadership. Otherwise, your bills aren't going to move. You're not going to.
I don't like that, by the way.
I don't like that at all. But
Are they going to own your ass? You've already been there and done that.
Let me tell you.
No disrespect to the Republican Party, but I want Madison Cawthorn to do what Madison Cawthorn thinks is best for America, not what the Republican hierarchy is telling you to do before they Byron told me the game. You get in there, they own your ass, and they tell you go here, 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 vote here, 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 and we'll get you money and get you reelected. Tell me you're going to be a maverick and go against that, and you're going to do what Madison Cawthorn thinks is best for America.
I won't just tell you because as a promise, I'll actually give you a history lesson here, and this is all been proven. When I was first elected, we're up there for freshman orientation. It's December. We get sworn in January. I get a text from a member of leadership. She was just a messenger. That's the reason I'm not sharing her name, but it was from the top. I go into her office late at night, and she's an older woman, and she says, Madison, if you were to hire one of these people as your chief of staff, we would know you're a team player. I said, well, what does it mean to be a team player? She said, well, if there's negative articles about you, we can help keep those, suppressed. We can help you get bookings on Fox News or these big things. We can help you with your committees, all of this stuff, blah, blah, blah. What does that tell you, Pat? If you're Patrick, when you really sit down and think about it, if they're saying that they're going to help keep negative articles about you from coming out, it means that they have a secret file on every single member of Congress. They have all of this leverage points.
Secret files and everybody.
And then they will threaten you. They will threaten you with these things, saying, well, if you do this, we actually hacked into your iPhone. This is not a joke. They hacked into my iCloud. They will
Byron doesn't have an iPhone. He said,
listen,
you all learned.
I was the test case. Yep. Crazy. And then anyways, that they will then threaten you. And I was not going to lose my campaign. I was doing amazing. They then lobby my state government. They change our state constitution, redraw our district lines to give me a liberal city because they said, if we can't control you, we're going to take you. And then I remember looking at them, and I just said this earlier, and I said, who will protect your movement when you are dead and gone and I'm in my prime? And that is what's happened here. I moved down to Southwest Florida really to get away from politics. Been here about 5 years.
Jet skis too.
Exactly. Love jet skis. And, I was just living my life, having an amazing time. Then when I realized that Byron Donalds was moving on, I realized, hey, we have a moment here. We're all born for such a time as this. Charlie Kirk got assassinated. I was kicking around the idea if I wanted to run or not. He's a great friend. Charlie and I have spoken all around the world together. An amazing guy. Miss him so much. And then I knew at that moment, I have to step up and fight. Because I know what's going to happen when you get someone who's new to Washington, D.C. They don't know the game. I mean, you look at Donald Trump, one of the best men who's ever lived. You look at him in Washington, D.C., his first term. He didn't know the game. He was surrounded by traitors. They were able to manipulate his presidency. They were able to stop him at every turn. But now he goes back. He's gotten this fresh crew of real-life hardcore patriots to be in Washington, D.C., and he knows the game now. I know the game now. I've got friends in Washington, D.C., all across the Republican Party now. But also,
I know who your enemies are.
I know who my enemies are.
And your enemies sometimes wearing the same name tag you're wearing.
Listen, I've got a tattoo on my side. There were 16 people really responsible for taking me down. Kevin McCarthy's at the top. We have Tom Tillis at the top. All of those people are now out of office, out of jobs. We hunted Kevin them McCarthy. Down over years and years. And I will tell you that we are going to save this country because we know the game now. And this is one thing I'll tell you. This is not going to be something that's going to make you, I want to go vote for you right now. I'm not going to fix the country in 2 years. I'm going to do everything I can, but generational problems require generational solutions. I exposed the sexual deviancy in Washington, D.C. I exposed the drugs that were going on. They said I was crazy. I said that, Zelensky was a thug and there was a corrupt government. They said, oh my gosh, you're some Russian puppet. I attacked the establishment for saying you wanted to move on from Donald Trump. And then that's exactly what happened. These hats, some really great patriots started making these hats. As Madison Cawthorn was right about everything. It was trending on Twitter, all these great stuff. And now that all of these things are coming true, people are realizing, wait a minute, these people don't have our best interests at mind. If you send me to Washington, D.C. within 10 to 20 years, when we have outbred these people, we have a great new batch of patriots all moving up, you will see these traitors, these treasonous traitors in handcuffs. They will be tried. The ones who did crimes against humanity, who then receive pardons, they will get the death sentence. We will hunt these people down. And if you harm a child, oftentimes Jesus said, if someone strikes you, turn the other cheek. If, someone's given you a loan, they can't repay it, forgive them. What is the biblical answer for when someone harms kids? To tie a millstone around their neck and throw them in the water so they die in seclusion so they know what's awaiting them in hell. That is the country we need. And listen, a lot of people say, well, you're not supposed to take revenge. That's the revenge is mine, says the Lord. God also calls magistrates, people within the government, to wield the sword for the benefit of the people. That is what I am put on this earth to do. We are going to fight.
God also used David to wipe out hundreds of thousands of God's enemies, evil people, evil leaders, and David wasn't perfect. God always doesn't use the cookie cutter, clean cut guy with no tattoos, who doesn't ride jet skis, who doesn't have a few pictures out there on the internet somewhere doing something crazy. Every person that I know that I love and respect has got a picture somewhere doing something crazy. I've even been told there's a bunch of them out there about Pat Dearborn. The point is, none of that shit matters, man, because you see a vision. Now I'm gonna change gears for a second and ask you a really tough question, because my brother next to me, we know what he went through. That guy was an alligator. He was a prisoner in Alligator Alcatraz, and then the Chrome. So 63 days. My question to you is, and we didn't pre-plan this, it bummed me out because I was the first guy going, dude, we got to get rid of these gang members that are hurting kids, raping women, murdering people. I didn't know innocent people, and that's the problem with laws. Innocent people always get caught up in that gray area. My question to you is, when you get elected, is there anything you would change about ICE? And I know no one's going to push you into a corner to give the right answer. Pat and I have had offline conversations. It did make me take a step back and rethink. We have to find a way. The guy at Outback Steakhouse that's washing dishes, the guy that comes to my lawn and cuts my grass, however they got here, if they haven't committed a crime, there's got to be a way we say, Jose, Jim, John, come here. We're going to log you in. We're going to register you. We're going to do whatever we got to do. We're going to get you on a 2-year path to citizenship. And you can stay and work it out back. You can stay and do that lawn care service. You can stay and do whatever you're doing. You haven't broken any laws. You break a law, we're going to deport you. Is there a way we can do that systematically and do it so guys like Pat Jira don't get caught up in the crosshairs? Ricky Haas is not a U.S. citizen. I don't want to see Ricky Haas. He's my board guy. I can't stand to lose Ricky Haas. Is there a way we can do that? All joking aside, Ricky actually is a U.S. citizen.
But here let me just jump in on that, though. Here's the thing, that the immigration system was so lax and so broken. You have to come in and kind of go hardcore and extreme. And in that process, yeah, some people might, get swept up that, and I went through the system, and God bless America, because I went through the system and state my case, and I was able to stay here. And it's the greatest country in the world.
But Pat, that was a miracle, though. I was being real. Your stories are very few.
So, Pat, you bring up some really interesting points here, and this is something that I think that requires it requires some nuance. Yeah. So, I believe that illegal immigration is wrong. I believe that we have got to protect the soul and the culture of our country. And you see what's going on across our country, and I think that it is the reason why I'm saying that we want to see these powerful people in handcuffs that have been destroying the world. We have to start seeing consequences. I'm thankful that the system was able to rectify you. I think that it should have been done faster. This is a reason why I'm really aggressive against the bureaucratic class, because they see everything as a number and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to log my hours, and it's just some low IQ person who's typing in orders to do that kind of thing. And so we need to have better people within the federal government. But, I got to say, even if people didn't commit, some kind of violent crime or anything, they committed a crime coming into this country.
Legally.
Well, yes, but let me tell you what I think. Because so many people, over millions of people, have self-deported themselves using the CBP app. And then that puts them in a faster movement to be able to get citizenship to come into this country. Because we have got to deport 10 million people before Donald Trump is gone. That has to happen.
Why?
The reason is because we've created a welfare state that was designed for a high-trust society. Mm-hmm. And those people are now such a drag on the system. You look at what's going on with the Somalians. You look what's going on in these little conclaves of people who are not trying to assimilate to the culture of the United States of America. You see what's going on with Islam inside of Texas. They're trying to create Muslim-only cities inside of Texas. We have got to defend the identity of our nation.
1,000%.
And now I will tell you, although sometimes sad things happen, I think it's a reason we now have my dear friend Mark Wayne Mullen at the helm of DHS, someone who's going to be able to rectify this, because this happened under the former secretary who was not really focused on execution, but more focused on, what it looked like. And I think that's why Donald Trump put my friend Mark Wayne Mullen, who's endorsed my campaign, in there so that we can be handled in a more professional manner. But I will push back, and I will say I'm in favor of deporting all of them. And I know that's going to be sad. I know it's going to be some situations where it does require nuance, because listen, there is a gentleman here in Florida who served as a Marine defending our country for 8 years, and now he's being deported because of some paperwork issue. And that's where I'm
you
saying
served, you automatically became.
That's exactly right. So this is the situation where we need some nuance. Like, wait a minute, no, this person is an American. Like,
same thing with him being here 40 years.
No, exactly.
I mean,
that's where I'm saying
there's got to be some caveats.
There's some things that require nuance and require professionals.
When you have to clean up such a big problem, you're going to have stuff kind of, get caught in the crossfire because you're fixing a huge problem. So it's going to.
You're telling me when you're sitting in Alligator Alcatraz, you weren't like, dude, how am I getting caught up in this shit and woe is me?
I mean, you got to take my situation out of it, and you got to think, but that's the first thing people always ask me when I got, has it changed your political stance? No, because I take myself out of it. I know that illegal immigration has been such a big problem. Unfortunately, I got caught in the crosshairs, but because it's the greatest country, they took all circumstances and me being here 40 years legally, daughter, paying taxes, never taking a dime from the government, so, and I was able to stay.
Can we just say the amount of fortitude and masculine strength it takes for someone who is wronged by a system to realize, hey,
100%.
This is still something that needs to get done for the benefit of my daughter and your family who is here. And, Pat, I just got to say that's incredible. I will say, as someone who was a member of Congress, I apologize that there was a mistake made in the system, and I thank you for still supporting the right system that needs to be done.
That's why I knew where we were going to go with this. I wanted to hear his reaction, and I'll say one more thing too.
I will just say this: there's some really, people asked, were you scared in there? And 70% of the people in there were good people. Now, if I don't know what their status was. I think a lot of them were illegal, but there was good people in there. I would just leave it at
you
that.
and I have talked, so I led us down that path. I wanted to hear your comment, which is dead right on, and I want to hear Pat's reaction. I'm gonna make one more comment about my dear friend Pat Jira. Before this whole thing went down, I think at best he was a mediocre podcaster. Having been in the shit, having been in combat, in prison, in a room this big with 40 guys with 2 toilets in the middle. I don't care who you are. When you've been to Alligator Alcatraz and the Chrome in Miami for 63 days, but I guarantee you felt like 6.5 years. Every time I talked to him on the phone, he would cry. I would freaking get choked up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a scary time. I'm not,
But God put you through that. God put you through them running you out of D.C. Somehow, guy had a plan. You come to Southwest Florida, you ride a jet ski. For a variety of reasons, we're here right now. You're about to become the next representative for District 19. He's already become, I think, one of the greatest podcasters. I wanted to partner with him so bad. He'd have me on his show. And I love Larry and all the other, and Tim Jarrett and all the other guys, Ricky. But I knew Pat and I could do something really special. And we're just getting started. And I love how raw and real that we're getting this conversation going with my man here. Because when you become a congressman and you're representing District 19 of Southwest Florida, and you're up there fighting for us, there's going to be times when they're going to come at you so freaking hard because they don't want you getting another 2 years. And I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats because you're there to upset the apple cart. How are we going to deal with once you win? Fast forward to 2028. You're up for re-election already. It's crazy every 2 years. It's crazy how these senators can shake and run. I mean, again, the system's crazy, but it is what it is. How are you going to defend yourself and stand tall when you know the media, the liberals, the communists, the socialists, the Islamic people, all these people that want to see the downfall of America, they're powerful, brother. You've already said they're in our phones. They got something on everybody. How in the hell do you stand firm and stand tall with that? And by the way, let's go beyond that. If they can't corrupt you, blackmail you, and get you on their side, there's not just voting you out, there's also taking you out. See Charlie Kirk, and there's other list of names that have been taken out. How are you going to sleep at night, and how are you going to stand when evil's knocking at the door and they're going to want to take you out once we get you elected?
I'm going to use what you went through. So many people are unknown quantities. You don't really know if someone is a potato or an egg until they go through the furnace. And you were thrown into a boiling pot of water. And when I say a potato or an egg, when you throw, potato looks strong, an egg, has this hard shell. You don't really know what they're made of. But when they go through a trial, when they get inside of that boiling water, they have to sit in it, you see the true quality of people. The potato gets soft and it breaks apart. The egg gets hard and it gets strong. That's where you are. You went through something difficult and you proved yourself. I'm a strong man who's going to stand up and fight, and I still believe in what I believe in. You know, I went through a near-death experience when I was 18 years old in a terrible car accident. I was in the hospital for 2 years. I was in Washington, D.C. You know, they tried to say that I was investigated by the DOJ for sedition against the federal government. They were trying to say I was trying to overthrow the government. And my response to them was, I'm the leader of the Second Amendment movement inside of Congress. If I wanted to overthrow the government, we would not have shown up with flagpoles on January 6th. It's absolutely ridiculous. I call it the great trespassing. And so they came after us so hard, especially for COVID. I wouldn't let them vaccinate my staff. I said, if you try and do that, I will literally stop you at the door. And if I have to fight you, I will. And we were attacked nonstop. But, you know, going through the car accident I went through, having, you know, my spinal cord burst fracture, the T12, couldn't use anything below my sternum, having both of my lungs collapse, my diaphragm ruptured, unable to speak. For someone like me, being unable to speak, I was 6'4". I was 225 pounds. I had everything going for me in life. And then I lose, I think it was 85 pounds in the course of 2 months. My body was having to fight so hard. I get burns all over 30% of my body. I have a traumatic brain injury. I've got tubes in me. I have had over 30 surgeries. I don't care what they throw at me from the left. You know, people are like, well, it's such a difficult battle going up against this kind of evil. You know, why does God always give us these hardest battles? We're going up against people who don't even know if they're a man or a woman. They're addicted to drugs. They are addicted to, SSRIs, wanting to be diagnosed with absolutely everything. These are people that we can beat simply by mocking and standing strong. That is why I'm so happy to be here in Southwest Florida. Because when you're in a purple state and somewhere where, it can go either way, you really have to kind of dance that line, because if people start coming after you, it's going to make your reelection difficult. But here in Southwest Florida, Byron Donalds has taken some heat. Byron Donalds has taken some hard positions. Matt Gaetz did the same thing. Greg Stubbe's taken some hard positions. Anna Paulina. The people of the west coast of Florida are hardcore patriots. They don't care what the left calls them. We know what they are. It's like, I don't care if you guys are booing them, because we know what you cheer for. I don't ever judge people by who their friends are. I judge them by who their enemies are. And if you're someone who has no enemies in life, it means you're not really accomplishing anything or really doing anything of meaning. And so I think the people of Southwest Florida will rally behind a patriot. And they'll say, you come for our guy, you're coming for us all.
Hell yeah.
There's 2 million of us here in the 3 counties of Southwest Florida. We are going to stand up and fight you at every single turn of the event. And so I know, because I've been through the hard times. I've been through Washington, D.C. I know I'm not going to back down. Hell, my backbone's reinforced with titanium. I couldn't bend if I wanted to. And you know what? I've also got brothers like you. I know you'll come jap slap me if I was over there voting to take your guns and do something gay.
I'll also stand right next to you when it comes time to draw that line in the sand, for sure. I've said it a million times, man. God forbid that ever happens to our country. I can guarantee you Southwest Florida will be one of the last places standing. We got Alfie's Farmers and Crops. We got the Alamo. We got Lee County, Collier County. We got about, I think
we have a full-fledged Navy with the boats we got here.
4.2 million guns. We got about 19 billion rounds of ammo. We got a lot of boats, flotillas. So, but I pray every day it doesn't happen that way. I'm praying that elections, nonviolence, we can turn this thing around and do it the right way. And if worst case scenario, man, pitchforks and torches, we've been holding bad politicians accountable for a long time. Maybe time to reinstitute that.
That's exactly right. Because listen, the founding fathers were very wise in giving us the First and Second Amendment. We are at a time right now where we can use the First Amendment to save this country. If everyone starts saying publicly what we all say privately, we can save this country. But if that fails and it goes to kinetic forces of the Second Amendment, that's what our founders intended. As they say, the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants from time to time. And that is something that we're trying to stop right now. That's why we're involved in politics, because we don't want to see combats on our street. I want America to prosper. And the only way we can do that is by expanding our message, by electing people who can convince more people to come to our side and say, your ideology is bankrupt both morally and financially, and I'm going to stand for what America believes in. We got to bring this country back to God. We got to bring this country back to God. Everything goes down to it's the devil trying to corrupt us. Make Jesus first again. I love that hat. Yeah, and that's what we all believe in. And so yeah, I just that it's podcasts like this that are getting the message out. So, Lauren Maxwell, thank you for building this amazing building, giving this kind of area. And guys, thank you for having me on. But do you have any final questions?
No. How if people want to join the campaign, get involved, donate?
Yeah, so you can go to MadisonCawthorn.com. There's some volunteer pages right there. I'm on Madison Cawthorn on all social medias. But guys, let me tell you, this campaign is going to come down to the wire. In the last 6 congressmen that have been elected from this district, the campaigns came down to the last 6 weeks. Byron Donalds was losing when all the mail-in ballots came in. He didn't win until election day. So every single vote matters. You got to get out. You got to tell people, please come volunteer. And guys, we host a lot of events. They're a lot of fun. We'll get you fired up. It'll be a good time.
I saw one coming up at Tito's
yeah,
Cantina.
we had about 120 people at Tito's Cantina going on. We've got our cigars.
At Ant's place. You had something at official Patriot Gear.
We do. That's coming up in June. We've got an event coming up at Burn Cigar Bar. It's called Cawthorn Cigars and Conversations. I think cigars can save the country if we all sit down and really have full-fledged conversations.
I want to hear about that.
That's exactly right. So, that's where you guys can find me. But this is not an election about me. I have got a great life. You keep your title forever. I'm not running to get a title. I'm already a congressman. I'm already have the honorable in front of me. I don't give a damn about that. I'm running for you. I'm running for that unborn child in your wife's stomach or your grandchild's stomach. I am running to make sure that this country does not fall, and we stand for another 250 years. The Republic stands. Our Constitution stands. America stands. We make God first. We make America first. We dominate the world. We free our citizens from the corrupt bureaucrats and politicians who are trying to rob us. It is time for us all to stand, as our forefathers have done. It was young people who scaled the cliffs, cracked the codes, signed the Declaration of Independence. Young people will save this country. Young men and women all around from all walks of life. I don't care if you're poor, rich. I don't care if you're a fire commissioner. I don't care if you were just put into Alligator Alcatraz. It's time for us to join arms, stand up, and save this country. Guys, I'm Madison Cawthorn. I will be your next congressman. Patrick, thank you for having me on. Pat, thank you for having me here. You guys are wonderful. It's an honor. I will never stop fighting for you.
And all Pat and I can say about that is
next question.
Boom! Whoa.